Chiefs didn't feel like spending 4 of their 7 picks on defense was enough.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
You are Locked On Chiefs, your daily Kansas City Chiefs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to another episode of Chiefs Overtime on Locked On Chiefs. And I'm Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. He is Ryan Tracy from RGR Football. And the Chiefs did make 4 straight draft picks on defense, then came back and went 3 straight offensive draft picks. And then what did they do? They go out and they sign 6 guys to UDFA deals, giving them max money. 3 on offense, 3 on defense. We've talked about we've talked about all the offensive players. We've talked about Rice Phillips. Let's break down the other 2, Xavier Nwamkpa and Vincent Anthony. We're going to start with Nwamkpa right now, and he is a safety. Let me know what you think about this signing.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good-sized dude. We had him on the draft board. Dan Harms broke him down for us on RGR if you guys want to see that. Nwamkpa is like, I think he's over 6'2.5". No, he's 2.5 exactly. Like 208. He moves well. He was top 10 in all but one athletic matrix score. He moves well, and he's a solid athlete. His tackling has been a little bit suspect over the years. I think he did take a step forward with that in 2025, but he certainly has a ways to continue that. But here's the thing. He is a guy that is built to be a box-type safety, not a ton of experience playing over the top. He has marginal speed to do so. So he's not quite as versatile as the Chiefs usually like, but he's physical. He will come downhill on you very, very easily. He does have good recognition skills. He does watch the quarterback well. But the big problem, and the reason that I didn't have him any higher, I think I had him in the 6th on my board myself, is he doesn't take the ball away. He doesn't make plays on the ball, whether it's forcing turnovers, getting TFLs. Both his Eagle and his Hawk rate are the same. He was 23rd in the safety class I only had 26 prospects. So that tells you where that was. And while I think he has an opportunity to improve, and he does have athleticism to build on, I think he's a bit more of a project than CRW was coming out in particular. And I think that's who he would have to beat out along with Jaden Hicks to make this roster.
Yeah, as you look at that, that is I don't see that they're going to be getting rid of Jaden Hicks, even though he's taken a role that I don't quite understand. And the Chiefs haven't used him to the extent that I would expect them to. I don't think that they're going to be moving away from somebody that they drafted. So I don't think that that's going to happen. So, and we already talked about, talking about Bryce Phillips, they're likely going to keep 6 corners. That's what they've done the past several years. And if that ends up being the case, you can't keep 5 safeties.
Right.
That's just reality. So at this point, it's a question of, can you come in and can you beat out one of those guys? Alohi Gilman's going to be on this roster. Chamari Connor's going to be on this roster. Jaden Hicks, I cannot see going anywhere else either. So to me, 3 of the 4 are probably set, and I would guess that Christian Roland Wallace is probably going to be on this roster as well. But that's the big question: can he beat out a guy like that?
I think it's a possibility, but I doubt it. At least this year. So I think that they spent this money. What was it? $260K, the max, right? In order to secure him, to have him on the practice squad, to let him develop, because he has some things that he can use to get better. And I do see that happening. And when you take a look at free agency and what's coming where, I think a year from now, we might be having a very different conversation about where Nwankpa is in the plan.
Well, and that's going to be interesting because in another year from now, Chamari Connor won't be on this team, I don't believe. And we'll see how all the rest of it is going to work out. So I do think that it's going to be something to watch. Can he come in and where does he run again at OTAs? Where does he run when we get to training camp? Is he showing anything? Is he picking off the ball? That's something else. Mm-hmm. Like if he's making plays on the back end of the defense and they start giving him more play time, what happens during the preseason games? So obviously all that's going to matter. But he's got an outside chance of making the roster. But I agree with you. I think it's more of, we're looking at trying to figure out, can we go with the guys that we already have and bring in depth that's going to be somebody that will be able to step in and be something to help us in 2027, because that's when they're absolutely going to need the help, is in 2027.
Agreed. And I think he is a case to work on, but I think it's worth the investment.
Well, and we're going to talk about Vincent Anthony when we get back from this. The 2026 NFL schedule release is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. Schedule release always sparks debates: who's overrated, who's got the brutal schedule, and which teams are actually playoff contenders. Kalshi lets you trade on these predictions in a live market, from total wins to playoff chances and championship futures. On Kalshi, you can trade on NFL questions like whether a team makes the playoffs or reaches a certain win total. As the season outlook changes, you can buy in or out of your position live. And it's available in all 50 states, so it's easy to jump in and follow along with the season. For example, if you think a team's schedule is set up perfectly for a playoff run, you can actually trade on that prediction before the season even starts. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything.
The NBA playoffs are here and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, just turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. FanDuel's super easy, and that's the reason that we use it, right? Especially in the playoffs, everything's right there in one place, easily accessible. You get stats, trends, matchups, all by making the picks, which makes the whole experience feel like a lot more informed, and you're not just going with your gut. You have more information to work on. Use the website. You can get into everything that you want, whether it's the matchup that you're looking for X player to out-rebound his opponent, etc. Anything that you want to get out offers in, you can go do it. It's super easy to navigate the app, and the playoff basketball is even more engaging from start to finish. So head over to FanDuel and get started. It's FanDuel.com. Play your game.
If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. So how does it help you track your finances? It tracks all of your subscriptions in one spot and can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going. And you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And if you haven't already, go check out lockedonchiefs.supercast.com. Go check out our Everydayer Club and get access to our Discord server and get access to ad-free audio. We do truly appreciate all of our Everydayers. You can talk to Ryan and I on Discord. Have a lot of fun there. Now, Vincent Anthony is a little bit different situation. He comes into a defensive end room where I do think that they need to make additions, although this one seems a little a stretch, I guess, is what I will say.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is difficult. He certainly fits their type. This is the classic Spags type. A little bit light, but came into the combine on 258. So right on that bottom end of the classic Spags range, right? He's 6'5" plus, more than 6'5.5". Comes in, he's got the body type, like he's built real lean. He's got good length, 34 and an 1/8 inch arms. So all within the normal ranges, right? But he's slow off the ball. 1.6610 just does not close on the passer. Below average in his ability to corner in both agility tests. Maybe he's just a bad tester. Okay, fine. Because he ended up with sub 30 in every single category in the matrix, and that's a problem. That's why I had him off my list. But what the Chiefs are looking at is he's got the right body type. He makes tackles behind the line of scrimmage for loss as a top 10 guy ranked in this class, and he's productive in taking pressures and turning them into sacks. He is he's number 8 in that metric as well. So he doesn't produce a ton of pressure, but when he does, he has a tendency to get home. I felt on film he was a little bit more of an opportunistic pass rusher, a little bit more like George Karlaftis, where if a quarterback is flushed or he's stalled up by good coverage in the back, or somebody takes away his primary read, then he has enough time to get there. But he just wasn't as explosive enough on film for me to feel like he can go be a difference maker and push his way onto this roster as a rookie. Again, another guy that I think should be on the practice squad and is worth the time investment.
But that's the key. It's practice squad is a guy that you think, and that's another reason why I do think that the Chiefs went out and spent some of this money, is because it's an investment. And this goes back to, you can talk about Nigra, whether or not he can actually make the roster. There's questions there. Another situation with Nwankpa, like we just talked about. Now you're talking about Vincent Anthony. These are all guys. And Gillenborg is another one. Like, you have all these guys that you're looking at that maybe aren't going to be ready this year. Caldwell is another one. And Bryce Phillips may have closer to the best chance to make the roster outside of Gillenborg, maybe. I think you could make an argument there. But the reality is that if you go and give these guys the $260 million, one, you're going to get them in Kansas City because that's the max that can be given. They're going to want to go play for the Chiefs. But two, you're in a situation where you have the best chance of maybe keeping them if they show you something more than you expected them to be able to show you. And now you're in a scenario where they're already here, and you get them situated. Are they going to want to leave just for going on somebody else's practice squad? Because they probably aren't going to be added to a roster unless they just blow up in training camp or in preseason games.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I know it sounds like, hey, you're giving them the max UDFA contract, right? But this feels very different to me, or very similar to me, at a different cost level than it did a few years ago. In 2023, this is basically a very similar player to BJ Thompson that they spent a 5th round pick on. So the cost to invest in a UDFA is a lot less for a similar player with a similar path that has to improve some things. Now, BJ was a little bit more of a true outside linebacker that needed to bulk up. That's not the case with Anthony. But it is about making sure that you can get off the ball so you can get a little bit quicker. So I still think there's significant things that have to be done in order to get yourself in a spot to compete for a roster spot.
Well, and even if you can't get to a point where you can ever compete, look at the guys that they've had over the past several years at that backup, 4th or 5th defensive end role. I mean, you've had some guys that have been UDFAs that they've kept and haven't really been able to produce. So it's not like they have a stable of defensive ends that you feel like they're 6 deep at defensive end and there's no way this guy can make the roster. I agree with you. He's more than likely to be a practice squad guy. But can he develop into something? Can Cullen get him to where he can develop in year 2 or year 3 and give them something else? Because of all the positions that you go and you add a UDFA at, defensive end is probably the biggest one, where if you can find somebody that just hits, and it doesn't have to be like he becomes a every down starter, but if he can give you 5 or 6 sacks a season and just be a rotational guy, there's extreme value in that because you're still doing it on a cheap contract.
Yeah, for sure. It is value, and you can win big and not lose much.
Yeah. And so that's the name of the game. That's why they go out and they make these kinds of contracts. So I do think that this is going to be interesting to see if any of these UDFAs that they gave max contracts to are going to end up making this roster or are going to be on the practice squad. I would imagine if all 6 of these guys don't make the roster, I would imagine at least 66%, at least 2/3 of them are going to be on the practice squad. That would be my, if not closer to 100%, would be on the practice squad. So something to watch there. When we get back next week, we're going to be breaking down every single game the Chiefs have. We'll obviously be starting on the Broncos and the Chiefs game at Arrowhead. Looking forward to doing that. Thank you all for listening today, and we will talk to you next week.